Alors, bonsoir tout le monde, bienvenue.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this regular public meeting of the Dieppe City Council, this 25th of May, 2015. We will start with our thought. Colleagues, please have the wisdom to, the strength to change the things we can, and the wisdom to accept what we cannot, and the strength to know the difference. I have a few announcements at the beginning. I just wanted to point out, because this is going to be held before the next meeting, it's going to be the first time that the workshop on Les Arts et la Ville is coming outside of Quebec, and we are going to be hosting it here in Dieppe. In Acadie, we've established partnerships with other municipalities, including Moncton, Bouctouche, and Shediac, and Memramcook as well. I'm sorry, I'd almost forgotten Memramcook. And we're really eager to welcome the 230 people who will be here during this workshop. It's a great participation from New-Brunswick, of course, but mostly it'll be people from Quebec. I'd also like to point out the start of the World FIFA Women's tournament that will be in June in Moncton from the 9th to the 21st of June. And we know that the whole region will be looked at very closely by the rest of the world. And I'm convinced that our neighbors in Moncton will do a great job. And there's a number of people from Dieppe who are also volunteering and involved in different aspects of the FIFA event, this world event. I'd also like to point out the passing of our former fire chief, former Chief Georges Bastarage, and I am sure that I speak on behalf of all of Council and the employees of the City of Dieppe in offering my condolences to the family, Madame Ollie, and her children. I think it will be held on Thursday and Friday at the funeral home, with the Mass being held on Saturday at Sainte Thérèse Church at 11 a.m. It'll be in the papers, of course, and on the Chartersville Funeral Home website. Any conflicts of interest? If not, we adopt the agenda. We're on item number 6. Mr. Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to add a point to the agenda on an appointment for Expansion Dieppe. We will add then a point 10.6.3, Expansion Dieppe. So it'll be added to the section on appointments. We do have to have unanimous consent of council to add an item to the agenda. Is everybody in agreement? Is anybody against? If not, we will add that to the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Brideau. And it was seconded by Councillor Cormier. So, as amended, with the added item, we have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. It's been proposed by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Leblanc. Ready for the question? All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. And so it is adopted as amended. Presentations, inquiries, and petitions, 7.1. Does anybody have any questions or inquiries or requests for information from Inspector George of the RCMP? If there are no questions. Mr. Beliveau, I'm sorry. Thank you, Your Worship. Just an update on the steps that have been taken. We'll always come back to the question of articles to inform and educate drivers, as well as cyclists, of course, to make sure that everybody is familiar with the rules of the road. Can you tell us today that there has been an article published on the website, or I know that we have announced it. We've asked our communications expert to look into it. I don't know if the articles have been posted yet, but I think there were some announcements made in April. Right now we're working on announcements for different activities and sectors, but this is still one of our objectives. It's part of our performance plan. And yes, it is something that we're going to continue to work on regularly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. If you allow, Your Worship, I would like to raise a point, since there's work being done on Amiro through the marsh. The traffic is being spread out elsewhere throughout the municipality. And I know that some people might be late getting places and might try and save time elsewhere. And so I think some people might not stop for buses if they're in a hurry. On Gauvin Street, for example, people, I don't know if, I think we should tell people that at traffic hour, and during the rush hour, we should have extra patrols to make sure people do stop for the buses, the Kodiak buses and the school buses. These are roads that people aren't used to taking, and so I think we have to educate them further. Thank you, and make extra patrols on those roads. Thank you, Councillor Leblanc. Anybody else? If not, Inspector George, you're welcome to stay here for the rest of the evening if you wish, but you are free to leave, Your Worship. Maybe I can stay until the discussion on the musical ride, the RCMP musical ride, and then I'll leave after that. Thank you. Great. Great. So now we're on 7.2. It's the launch of the participatory budget project. Mr. Richard. Good evening, Your Worship, colleagues, councillors, and all of those people watching us at home. What would you do with $300,000?
Better your community. C'est la question qui se pose, puis c'est la question qui est posée à chacun et chacun des résidents.
That's the question being asked of all the residents of Dieppe here this evening, and on behalf of the 14 members of the advisory committee, I'd just like to inform residents of this special opportunity they have to contribute to their community. We would like to encourage them to participate in this participatory budget project. What is this participatory budget process, the PBP? It's an envelope of $300,000 that is made available to the community for community improvement projects. We're looking for projects or ideas that'll be of the greatest benefit to the greatest number of residents possible. If you'd like to have more information, you can go to our website, dieppe.ca, or you can come see us at the Dieppe Market. We've been there for 2 weeks from 7 to 2 p.m., 7 in the morning to 2 p.m., and some residents come and join us there, some of the members of the steering committee, and we'll be there for the next 2 weeks as well, so come see us there. How can I take part? Well, there are 3 different stages. We're at the stage of the ideas. Following that, we'll be at the stage of the projects and then at the vote. So we ask people to participate in different forums that will be held this week, and Residents can come out and propose their ideas and discuss projects that'll be the most important for the community, and perhaps go through a first study of these projects. So it'll be 90-minute sessions that will be led by residents, volunteers from our community. The first citizen forum will be held tomorrow. We know that people are busy and they all have different schedules and all sorts of other challenges, so we're offering different times and places for these meetings. The first meeting will be tomorrow morning on May 26th from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at the Dieppe Public Library. And note that this is a very strategically located location because it's accessible by bus. There are 3 different bus routes that go right by City Hall. The second meeting would be tomorrow evening. For those who can't come tomorrow morning, for example, tomorrow evening at the library once again from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And once again, public transit is available. And then we're going to have a third meeting at the Dieppe Boys and Girls Club this Thursday, May 28th, from 6 p.m. to 7:30. Now, we have a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club, and they offered a free child care service. So if any parents have school-aged children, they can bring them and leave them in good hands with the staff of the Boys and Girls Club. Or, of course, because this process allows 12-year-olds and older to participate, they can bring their children with them either Thursday evening or tomorrow evening to participate in this idea collection section. And the last citizen forum will be on Saturday of this week, May 30th. So people who might be on the road or otherwise unavailable during the week or just prefer to sleep in on a Saturday, they can come to see us later in the afternoon. We'll be here at City Hall, just in front of the library. And once again, it's available through public transit. And this will be at 1:30 p.m. on Saturday. Or that was the first phase. That was the collection of idea, participating in the forums. And residents can also submit their ideas through the website. There's an email address. But if they want to continue working on it, or if they want to work on the development of projects or on the choice of ideas, that'll be done in the second stage. Right now, we're collecting ideas. All of these ideas, no matter what the preferences are of the citizens' forums, all of these ideas are going to be submitted to the citizens in the phase 2. So this is where we can have dialogues and discussions with staff to understand the impact of different ideas, and just to get more information, because these projects are going to be developed based on these ideas. So this is a great opportunity to get our youth involved as well and to initiate them in volunteer work. As I mentioned, from grade 6ers and up can participate in it. And it's a great way to approach the subject as a family as well. We have teenagers and so on. You can ask your teenagers the question itself. So that's a challenge we throw out to families. So in phase 2, then we'll come back with this in further details, but just to give you an idea, we have consultants here in June. And so we're going to have an orientation session in June for those who are interested in participating in phase 2, because of course it takes a greater commitment than just one evening. It'll probably be 6 to 8 sessions. So if people want to find out what it's all about, we'll be inviting them to one of the 3 meetings that you see on the screen, either June 11th in the evening, the 12th of June at lunchtime, or Saturday, the 13th of June from 10 a.m. to lunchtime. And we'd like to see the greatest number of people possible. So in closing, that's the challenge. What would you do with $300,000 to improve your community? We think it's a great opportunity to have discussions in your family, to have discussions with your community, and to work for your community. So please share this with other people and come see us at these different meetings that are going to be held in the next few weeks. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions. Yes, Councillor Nolan. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, if the Youth Action, I'd just like to know if the Youth Action Committee has been invited formally. We met with them right at the beginning, and all of our organizations have been invited, yes. Thank you. Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. I think it might be useful to mention that discussions are open to Anglophones and Francophones with simultaneous translation. No, there will not be any interpretation, but we'll have either a bilingual presentation or during the forums, people will have the opportunity to be to be able to speak in their own language. Somewhat like what we did here earlier. Yes, I just don't want people to feel that they can't come because of the language issue. No, the Anglophones and Francophones are welcome and will be able to speak in their language. Thank you. Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. It's not a question, but rather a comment. I think that if people from the region in general, and more specifically if people are aware of when the future steps are going to be held. I see Mr. Richard everywhere, and frequently he represents this project, and he's doing it very skillfully. People are very interested. People ask a lot of questions. And Your Worship, it really gives the impression that the city of Dieppe is a moving place. It's very at the leading edge of municipal activities, and that we really know how to do things and we do them well. So it's a great initiative from Council, but of course with Mr. Richard's lead and his support. I'd like to congratulate him for his great work and his perseverance in spreading the news. Thank you. Thank you. And as you know, there's a great number of volunteers behind all of this. Yeah, it's not only creating the impression that things are moving here in Dieppe, rather it confirms that things are moving here in Dieppe. Thank you. Any other further questions? If not, thank you, Mr. Richard, once again for your excellent presentation and for the committee's work. And I hope that we will have the participation you're expecting. I think things are looking good. So thank you once again. And of course, I need to point out your participation in an international symposium that was held in Dayton, Ohio, last week, I believe. And the city of Dieppe was introduced as one of the 6 North American cities in which there are these participatory type projects. And I'm going to need your help here because I know that Seattle is another one. Seattle, Washington, Alexandria, Virginia, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Oakland, California, and Portland, Oregon as well. So when people talk about the city of Dieppe in the same sentence as these other cities, that means that things are really moving here in Dieppe. So congratulations once again, and thank you. It's the only Canadian city in this group. Thank you. Thank you. Now questions from the public. No questions by members of the public. So now if the cameras look that way, you'll see that we're short of people to ask questions. So now we move on to the adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 11th. It's been moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Cormier. Ready for the question? All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. So the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 11th are carried as presented. Number 10, motions, memorandums, and nominations. Administration, date change. The regular council meeting of the 8th of June, 2015. A lot of people are going to be away that week, it would seem. Mr. Melançon. Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. Yes. So that week, it does coincide with the meeting of the FCM, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, that will be held in the Edmonton region. So to allow councillor members to come back, we have to push back this meeting to June 15th. So just to make sure that we comply with the administrative procedures, we have to reschedule it to June 15th. Thank you. Would somebody like to read the resolution? Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That the regular council meeting scheduled on for June 8th, 2015 be rescheduled to June 15th, 2015 at 7 p.m. And I so move. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded on the question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. and it's carried. 10.2, renewal of the lease agreement at the fire department complex. Yes, for some time now, the RCMP has been leasing space at the Georges Bastarache fire station on Gauvin Street. And so this is for the approval of the renewal of the existing lease agreement with an increase of 2% of the rental amount. And it would be for another 5-year periods, and we are recommending the signature of this lease agreement. Thank you. Would somebody like to read the resolution? Councillor Nolan. Thank you, Your Worship. That the Municipal Council approves the renewal of the existing lease agreement between the City of Dieppe and the RCMP relating to the rental of space in the Fire Department complex situated at 500 Gauvin Road and having PID 702-69113 for a 5-year period ending September 30th, 2020, and authorizes also the municipal signing officers to sign the said lease agreement. And I so move it. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Nolan, seconded by Councillor Brideau. Ready for the question, Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, about the time period for the renewal of this agreement. Is it 6 months that they have to end the contract? Because something in the lease mentions a 1-year period for ending the lease, but historically, I believe that there was a 6-month period of time. On our page 54, at point 2B, grants the leaser the option to renew for 2 periods, but must give notice in writing no later than 12 months before. So do we need to notify them 12 months before, or is it 6 months before for non-renewal? Because there are 2 different time mentioned here. I think it's 12 months for the renewal of the second renewal period, and that's where we are now. We're at the renewal of the second agreement. Yes, and and where you talk point number 3, there's a 6-month for an option to terminate. So it's 12 months to renew. And I have a second point, Your Worship. Do we need to register this agreement? Because there's a lease agreement a little later where it's mentioned that the whole agreement has to be registered. Should this one be registered as well? Good question. At this point, I think I'll have to look into that. But for the second lease that we're going to look at a little later, it's for a new partnership with a new agreement, and we're talking about the acquisition of a building. So that's why the agreement needs to be registered in that case. There are perhaps more detail, more particularities that weren't around in this one. But in this case, we have a great partnership with the Kodiak RCMP, and I think the level of assurance is a little higher. But both of them are lease agreements, right? Yes. Thank you. So does that mean you're going to check and see if you should register it? Yes. Thank you. Thank you. And it's a good idea to specify that we're talking about $22 and $61 per square foot per year, compared to the construction of a new building at $635 a square foot. I think that we can maintain the 911 service here and really save in building a new building cost, or at least save from $635 a square foot in building costs, or $22 a square foot in leasing costs. Do the math. And you can give the message to all those who need to hear it, because I want to make sure I am going to be heard on this. I'm a little shy sometimes, but not so much. So who would like to read the resolution? Oh, we've already read it? Oh, ready for the question then? Whoops, I'm sorry. The $635 has really struck me. So I've. If there are no further questions, then all those in favor of this resolution will signify by an aye, contrary-minded nay. And so it is carried as presented. 10.3, Culture, Leisure and Community Life. 10.3.1, Mr. Melanson. Yes, so this is another lease agreement with the SPCA. But we're talking about at the Dieppe Market area. The 10-year agreement is wrapping up, so we're proposing a 5-year renewal with an annual increase of 4% that will allow us to catch up because there were no adjustments to the lease amount in the first few years. So we were able to come to an agreement in principle on this rate. So this is for your approval and to authorize the signing of the new lease agreement. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Mr. Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Municipal Council approves the new lease agreement between the City of Dieppe and the Moncton SPCA Charitable Foundation, Inc., relating to the rental of space in the building situated as 232 Gauvin Road and having PID 704-42413 for a 5-year period ending October 31st, 2019. Approves the termination of the existing lease agreement and authorizes also the municipal signing officers to sign the new lease agreement. And I so move it, Your Worship. It's been moved then and seconded on the question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. And it's carried as presented. 10.3.2. Thank you, Your Worship. For the last few meetings now, we've had some presentations made to the Policies and Strategic Principles Committee, and so this is for your adoption this evening. There are 6 major parts. There's a 600 buffer zone for parks. There's a different criteria. Did I say 600? It's 800 meters. There's the criteria for new neighborhood parks, and there's criteria for the selection of new trails. Some trails that are not considered as park elements have different criteria. There's new criteria for LPPs, and we need to promote the reuse of some of these areas. So with all of these we're asking Council now to adopt the master plan as presented to the committee. Thank you. Who would like to read this resolution? Councillor Brideau. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council adopts the Parks and Trails Master Plan principles, and I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question, Councillor Gaudette. Yes, Your Worship. I'm very pleased to see that we added one word that says a lot here in the distances that come into play between the different community lots. So we've talked about maximum distance here. I think that gives greater flexibility. And certainly it gives a greater opportunity to be more accommodating for different blocks of homes. That's my first point. And secondly, I would like to review the grammar of some of these texts because there are a number of times where the preposition is not there before the street name. There are no hyphens in street names where there should be one, and there are a number of accents, accent aigu, missing in the text that was distributed to us. So that's what I would like to propose. Are you talking about the master plan? Yes, the master plan. In all of that list of lots, I don't remember exactly what page or pages it's on, but a number of times. Yes, I'll talk to the consultant and see if we can make these corrections. Yes, I think we should really correct it before it's published. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, Councillor Béliveau? Thank you, Your Worship. Well, so if I understand correctly, for neighborhood parks, we're talking about a radius of 800 meters. It used to be 500 meters, is that right? Mr. Bourque, I know it's been 800 meters for quite some time now, but people might have had the impression it was 500 at some point. Yeah, at some point we talked, some years ago, we used to talk about 500. Now we're saying a maximum of 800 meters, which means that in certain cases, it's possible that it's only 500 or 400 meters, depending on the way the neighborhoods are set up. But our objective is that all citizens have access to a park at a maximum distance of 800 meters from their home. And so we're hoping that it's always a maximum of 800. This is a development principle here that we're adopting this evening.
Moreover, Your Worship, I would like to mention transportation at the sixth point that was mentioned by the municipal manager for acquisition of land. So I congratulate you for taking into consideration that there should always be land for public purposes in all residential neighborhoods. At page 77 in the text, you mention at the dimensions of the neighborhood parks, and that the director of leisure services should support projects that are 1.5 hectares. And at the right, beside the symbol, the dimension should be about 1.5 hectares, or could it be as small as 1 hectare? So I'm a bit confused. Should it be one or the other, 1.5, or as little as 1 hectare? I would like some clarification on that. The master plan of leisure services recommends 1.5 hectares. But for neighborhood park, we could accept 1 hectare. So we have a bit more of a leeway, because with the dimensions of the lands. Another point, Your Worship, on page 78, after future neighborhood parks, they represent an area of 3,586 hectares. At that paragraph, it's the territory, the whole of the territory of the city for parks. So within this area, 800 meters, we should have an area of 3,586 hectares. That's the territory that is being comprised of parks. And lastly, Your Worship, on page 81, the community parks, you refer to neighborhood parks without canteens. But community parks, could you indicate that we could have canteens? And the reason for that is because there are large parks, or large enough, with maybe a business person or a community organization want to have a canteen in those parks. Have you considered that? With the intention of the community parks, there are bigger parks with more services, and there are places where we have parking and installations for recreation, soccer for instance, and neighborhood parks. even if we go as far as 1.5 hectares, we encourage people to walk in the area, so the number of people would perhaps not justify having a canteen. I can understand that in a neighborhood park, but the community parks are not indicated in the master plan. You have no reference to canteens. You have parking, places for walking. There's many factors, but nothing indicating that a canteen could be permitted. There could be other elements that aren't on the list, such as a canteen. Perhaps the service could consider that as another type of activity. Perhaps they would consider a request, but if it's not in the master plan, would not be automatic. If you put it in the master plan, it would be a consideration. They wouldn't be obliged to do it, but it could support the fact that the plan would suggest that it could be considered. Well, that's my comment. It says you wish, if you want to add it, as mentioned, it's one element. But there are other elements that could be considered as well without having been added. It's part of innovation to have fresh ideas and to put forward more ideas. It doesn't. We don't approve the plan. It's a work plan. We approve principles only. If we say that we have restroom services, parking, a canteen, for example. We know we have them at the Rotary Park, and for the baseball places, there are canteens. We're open to having them following discussions, of course. We can indicate it, we can mention it. It doesn't force us to do it or not do it. It's the type of services that we could include in a neighborhood park. Thank you. If there are no other questions for the vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. The next item is the RCMP musical ride. The musical ride will be in the region from June 3rd to 7th, and some activities will take place in the city of Moncton. And there's an open door activity here on Saturday in Dieppe. And the musical ride, the horses, will be here on Friday, excuse me. So our Centenaire Arena will accommodate the horses for 5 days in this region for the RCMP musical ride. For the reading of the resolution, Councillor Cormier. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council authorized the expenditure relating to the hosting of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police Musical Ride Stables in Dieppe from June 3rd to June 7th, 2015 at the cost of $9,105. I so move. Moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. For the question, Councillor Nolan. Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make an amendment to add to the resolution to offer the stage freely on a free basis. I would like to add that, so it would be for an amount of $1,000. Can somebody second? Seconded by Councillor Leblanc. Are there any questions on the amendment? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The amendment is adopted. Are there any other questions following the initial resolutions? No. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution at 10.3.3 is adopted with the amendment. Thank you. Item number 10.4.1, budget transfer for the 2015 snow removal. Your worship, we mentioned it a few times that it costs a lot of money this year, and a lot of municipalities are in the same position this year. So we've asked for a transfer of $534,005 from different accounts which were identified. And this gives us the capacity for the month of December for snow removal. And the savings we have made were chosen in order to make economies by our accounts. We've had economies by people that we did not hire and debentures, and you have the form and as a schedule, so you can see where all the amounts have been taken from all these activities that took place with the snow removal. For the reading of the resolution, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. The Council authorized a budget transfer in the amount of $534,005 as outlined in the enclosed budget transfer form dated May 12, 2015, in order to replenish certain accounts pertaining to the 2015 snow removal budget. I so move. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau. On the question, Councillor Gaudette, what took my attention here is the money that we took from public lands. I thought that those monies should serve exclusively to develop and improve the lands for public purposes. And I'm not sure that snow removal is taken into account in this. Mr. Treasurer, Mr. Thériault. Raymond Bourque, the director, could explain it to you, but it relates to a resolution which we received earlier this year where we had savings of about $30,000 on works. So this amount will not diminish the amount of work in the parks, but we have $30,000 that could be transferred for the budgets to go to snow removal. Mr. Bourque, it's a specific project. Yes, we had savings on this specific project so that we can transfer here, but the account that you're referring to, Councillor Gaudette, is the public services account where we receive funds of cash in lieu of land. So that goes towards development. So it's not the same account. Here we're talking about an operations account for renovations, for surfacing of our games areas. So we've had savings and we don't have to cut services. I understand. So this question of operations on another project, but when we say here lands, it has a different signification. Thank you. It answers your question. Any other questions? If no other questions, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution is adopted as presented. 10.5, engineering. 10.5.1 is a tender award for the street reconstruction of Fox Creek Airport Tower and Ijel Streets. After a tender award, we have 5 people that sent proposals for $1,720,530,000 was considered in an amount of $48,420 $6 for a supplementary amount, and the transfer of $500,000 for another element of the project for sewer work, which was necessary before to doing the final resurfacing. So this is to finish this work this year. For the reading of the resolution, Mr. Thibodeau. It's coming. Thank you. The council awards the contract for the project entitled Street Reconstruction, Fox Street, Airport Tower in Légère, to the lowest bidder, being Fulham Construction Limited, at the cost of $1,722,530 plus HST, and authorize that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3335587601. 2015 Asphalt Management General Capital Budget. The council authorized the amount of $48,426 plus HST to Group Roy Consultants Limited for additional inspection services related to the above-mentioned project, and also authorized that this expenditure be defrayed from account number 3335587601. 2015 Asphalt Management General Capital Budget. The council authorized a budget transfer in the amount of $500,000 from account number 3335587605, improvements, Dieppe Boulevard, Champlain to city limit, general capital budget, to account number 3335587601, 2015 Asphalt Management General Capital Budget. Moved by Councillor Thibodeau, seconded by Councillor Nolan. For the question, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. I'm wondering, for the public in general, if we could elaborate a bit more, what are the works that are going to be done on these streets, and what are the time periods so that people would know ahead of time? Councillor Leblanc. Mr. Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. The project which you have before you includes Fox Creek Road, works, repairs from Melançon to Leblanc Road. So we're taking off an asphalt and we're putting on new asphalt. And there's also a culvert that we're replacing near Leblanc. And that includes work on Airport Street and Tower Street and Légère Street. And in that area, we're going to replace the storm sewers and re-asphalt the streets. The works will start in June. They will continue until September on Airport and Tower, and it should be finished before that on Fox Creek Road. What you mentioned, Mr. Leblanc, I think Your Worship has mentioned this, the asphalting onto Leblanc Street and then replacing the culvert. Are we going to re-asphalt there? Those works are planned for this year, but we've had challenges with budgets, so we've put this work, some of the work, back until next year if council approves, and it will give us time to raise the road as far up as the bridge to stop flooding. We couldn't do that this year. We had recommendations this winter. So I was wondering if we could look at the culvert so we could avoid any problems that we've had in the past. Can we consider that? For the second section, well, the culvert is higher and there's no impact on the flooding that we had on Amiros. These works are independent of each other. And here these pipes are very old and used, and we've made them. We 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 have linked them as well as we could and fixed them as well as we could. There are new ones even after 40 years. You come up with new words. Thank you. That answers your question. Yes, I hope that in the second phase that we could raise the road a bit to avoid flooding. Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Godet, the $500,000 that we're taking from this project, literally, where did we find it? We had a surplus on Boulevard Dieppe project. That project is finished, and with your terminology that you're using tonight, we're taking it from there. We've had a good price. We have a $500,000 that we could take there. So that's not a project that we sacrificed or that we have pushed back. And the other thing, I hope that when we draw the lines on Fox Creek Road, what are you going to do there near Acadie and Mamio? We don't want to block Fox Creek too much, especially when there's a high volume of traffic in the morning and after work. The lines should be painted to ensure more safety for the cyclists and the people as well. And I would like the road to be wider as well for the people who use this street. I don't know where the discussions are on this subject, but I think we should have a larger space for people who are walking and the cyclists, for pedestrians, so that they can use it more easily. On this point, we were waiting for the contract to be awarded, and we're going to ask the residents of the Falls Creek area to meet with us to see what we shall do with respect to works there, and we want to get their opinions on the lines on the street as well, and we're going to distribute that information soon. There will be a few options respecting the lines. We're going to ask people what they prefer. That's our approach. That's what we had agreed upon with discussions and the council. Is that it, Mr. Godet? Consultations are great, but there are safety rules that are fundamental, which we must respect. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I had the same question as Councillor Godet with respect to the transfer of the $500,000. I would have formulated differently, because we're seeing that they're improving Boulevard Dieppe Champlain to the city limit. These works that are going to be done on Champlain, are they going to be done this year? The definition of the city limit was in direction towards the Route 15. And that city limit, we have a lot of city limits here in this city. So all those works on Champlain will be done, and Boulevard Dieppe. That project, we did it jointly with the province, and all that work around this intersection. Thank you. Other questions? Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. I had lost the idea, but after Councillor Godet spoke, it came back to me. We're speaking of lining of Fox Creek Road. Can we make the asphalt larger, or are we at the limit of the width of the asphalt as it is now? The project as it is does not foresee widening the asphalt. It'll be the same width as on Malassal Road. The lines are a little bit different. We have different options that have been proposed. When you said you consulted the people of the Fox Creek Road, perhaps you should go a little bit further on Forêt and Belle Forêt. There is no exit. The trail does not come out anywhere, so if people walk in that area, I would invite those people to these consultations. And perhaps Pierre Street, all the neighboring streets will be impacted because that's where people go for walks. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Leblanc. If there are no other questions for the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. The resolution is 10.5.1 is accepted as presented. 10.5.2. 10.5.2 is an installation of a new sanitary sewer system. We're doing a lot of construction in 2015, but we're planning for 2016 as well. So we have a preliminary plan to change the bridge on Chartersville Road and to reconstruct the road completely. This would be a good opportunity to bring services to the citizens of this zone. We adopted a resolution in 2007 that asked that 80% of the people would be in favor of installing these services. So this is a good opportunity to partner in this major project. Since 2007, we've had more services in some zones on Bourke Street, but to have discussions with citizens, we commend that council would adopt a new resolution to adopt this project for the installation of services. So it's for the authorization of the council to have discussions with the citizens. Thank you for the reading of the resolution. Thank you, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you to have raise your hand. Thank you, Your Worship. The council authorized to include a new sanitary sewer system on Chartersville Road between Civic number 578 and Bourke Road, as well as on Bourke Road between Chartersville Road and the existing sanitary sewer system adjacent to Civic number 1092 as part of the Chartersville Road Improvement Project between Bourke Road and Pascal Avenue, and that the costs related to the installation of the sanitary sewer system be billed to the users on a user charge basis according to 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 formula. And that council accept also that the resolution adopted October 15, 2015 and entitled User Charge, Sewer and Water Services, Bourke and Chartersville Road be amended as follows. The words sections 1, 2A and or 2B are replaced by sections 1 and 2A. The third point under the 11th paragraph, which reads Section 2B, sanitary sewer on Bourke Road between the easement and Chartersville Road and on Chartersville Road from Civic number 482 to Civic number 569 is repealed. I so move. Moved by Councillor Leblanc, seconded by Councillor Thibodeau for the question. Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. We're passing a resolution tonight that talks will take place So I wonder if the reaction is favorable to this project. Do residents of this area, if they're opposed to the project, what will happen? We propose having these meetings and discussions directly with people, and we know that some of them have private systems that have a lifespan that will come to an end. So this project will be major. It's for a length of time of 10 to 15 years, and it's the perfect time to ask the citizens if they want the services they deserve. So we're looking to offer these services. They're due, and the municipality should offer them, and we have the good occasion right now to do it. So they're ready to receive all the information, all the costs involved, the possibilities. All that information will be given to them. They will think about it and then come back to you with an answer. If we think that we're going ahead with this initiative, we will tell the citizens that it's the best scenario for them. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Godet. Yes. Are we still on 10.5.2? Yes, we are. So part of my question was already asked on the past usage, where there were some epic discussions and some very difficult discussions with several of the residents of this area. I expect communications with the citizens and will be improved, and I hope that the cases where citizens were linked up elsewhere, or some of them that didn't get connected at all, well, I hope that this time their options are well explained to them. Thank you. If there are no further questions, who would like to read the resolution? No, rather, all those in favor of the resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. So it is carried as presented. 10.5.3. Yes, we're planning on redoing Sainte-Thérèse and Sunset Streets, so we thought we would be able to add a multi-purpose trail at the same time. We have a concept that we're going to present to council in the next few weeks. There's a whole network that could start from Rue Paul Street all the way to Dieppe Boulevard. We've aligned the proposed trail, and we have right-of-ways now. And that would allow us to meet up with the trail on St. Paul Street. We still have one property owner that we have to negotiate with, but I think this would be of great benefit to really develop our trail system. It goes through the sports yards of schools, through the industrial park, and all the way to Dieppe Boulevard. So we're asking for approval to move forward on this initiative. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Councillor Cormier. We're on 10.5.3? Yeah. I'm sorry. Well, then, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council supports the construction of a multi-purpose trail as part of the Sainte-Thérèse and Sunset Streets Water System Improvement Project, and approves the proposed location of the said trail as shown in the conceptual drawings attached to the memorandum dated May 14th, 2015. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. On the question, Councillor Godet. Yeah, at the beginning, we had talked about the two different options of Sainte-Thérèse Street and Sunset Street, but Sunset isn't mentioned anymore. Why is it that everything's going to be on Sainte-Thérèse Street now, if I understand correctly? Well, it's the pedestrian crossway on L'Acadie Street. That's going to be in front of the church because that's the best way. There's already a pedestrian crosswalk there. So that was one of the important factors that came into consideration. Thank you. So there's no technical issues on one of the streets or the other one other than that? Mr. Bourque? Who would like to answer? Mr. Leblanc? We'll try. Yeah, for the trail, the two options we were looking at were on Sainte-Thérèse Street. One of them would have been along Sainte-Thérèse Street all the way to Notre-Dame, and the other option would have gone from Paul Street to the Sainte-Thérèse Church, then going behind properties and on the Sainte-Thérèse schoolyard all the way to Notre-Dame. And that's the one that goes on the schoolyard. And it's using Alderney Street? No? No, it starts at Paul Street. It stays on Sainte-Thérèse Street up to Acadie. It crosses l'Acadie, but still on Sainte-Thérèse Street along the church yard, and just after the church, it crosses on the churchyard in the back, and then it gets onto the schoolyard. And then it remains within the schoolyard along the fence all the way up to Notre-Dame Street. So it avoids us having to use Sainte-Thérèse Street for that part. And it really assures the connection with the school yard. It's directly on the school property, which means that the church is going to lose a few parking spots. No, there was a green space at the end of the parking lot, and that belongs to them, and that's where the trail is going to go through. And there's enough space. Yes, it's sufficient for the needs of this trail. So we could have gone all the way to Richelieu Street. We looked at different possibilities, and there would have been challenges with some of the properties, some of the poles, some of the trees. So we feel that this is the best option. And everybody agreed with these arrangements? And is there a formal arrangement with the school board? There have been meetings with the school board, with the school management and principal. They agree with the project. We've also met with representatives of St. Therese Parish. They all agree with the project. So with your approval, we're going to sign formal agreements. But everybody supports the project. Thank you. If there are no further questions, then all those in favor of this resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. It's carried as presented. The next, 10.5.4. Yes, this is for traffic lights and a roundabout as requested by council. They asked the engineering service to assess the possibility of this roundabout be created, and so the option that is preferred would be traffic lights at the intersection of Champlain and College Street and a single lane roundabout at the future intersection of College and Gauvin Streets. This is for your approval. Thank you. Who would like to read the resolution? Mr. Godet, if you'd like to read it, please go ahead. That council accepts the option relating to the installation of traffic lights at the intersection of Champlain Street and College Street, as well as the installation of a single lane roundabout at the future intersection of College Street and Gauvin Road as part of the College Street Extension Project. And I so move it, Your Worship. It's been moved by Councillor Godet, seconded by Councillor Cormier. On the question, Councillor Béliveau. Thank you, Your Worship. Is Champlain considered a designated highway, so we'll need the approval of the province before we install traffic lights there? Yes, of course. Steps have been taken to obtain the approval, and there's not a great possibility of the province refusing the request. No, we have to put in the request, and we'll see what they say. Yes, the request, when College Street goes all the way to Gauvin Street, which is scheduled for next year, then we'll have the curbs and the islands prepared to set up the traffic lights. They won't be up before that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Belvaux. Councillor Godet. Yes. Yes, I'm very pleased to see that the review of and the comparison of the two options, one with traffic lights and one with a roundabout. Well, I'm very pleased to see that it was a rigorous and documented review of these two options, and it serves to justify the options that were chosen. Now, there are two elements that I would have liked to see in the comments. One, the expenses and the expected life cycle of these intersections. That was not taken into consideration, or it was not mentioned. But another thing I noticed was that the notes on the safety and on the service, in both cases, the roundabout had a better better grade when they were graded. The roundabout got an A grade, whereas the other one got a B grade. So I would have liked to see a roundabout on Champlain Street as well. However, I do understand the circumstances, and I'm sorry. Well, I'm not sorry, but I do note that this will be the 6th or the 7th set of traffic lights that will be set up within a radius of 1.2 kilometer stretch along Champlain Street after the city limits. I think it's longer than that. Yeah, so you absolutely have to have a plan to make sure that all of these traffic lights are synchronized. Is the distance is greater than that, or the number of traffic lights is greater? No, well, I don't know about the number. But the distance is certainly greater than that. Well, not a lot more than that. My old Ford, that's what it tells me. Well, if your Ford says that, no, yeah, no, that would start an unending debate if we had to start debating the value of your old Ford. Yes, and the other element here is that I don't think that the amount of space necessary to set up traffic lights on Champlain Street was taken into consideration. If you look at the drawings, the 5th and 6th lanes on Champlain Street are not completely included in the calculation of what they call the footprint. So you can do the calculations yourself. The footprint, yes, in the footprint. But thank you, at least, for having considered the possibility of a roundabout with so much rigor and with science behind it to compare these intersections. And I would ask you to do this type of comparison for all and each intersection, major intersection for the municipality. We are coming up with some very interesting things in the future, Your Worship, and Councillor Godet will be thrilled. I will say in the future, but yes, starting now, is that it? I think it's the policy that Council asked from Public Works. They asked them to do this comparison, so congratulations. Congratulations to Council and to Engineering. Thank you. If there are no further questions, then all those in favor of the resolution will signify by an aye, contrary nay. It's carried as presented. Now, appointments. Appointments 10.6.1. Essentially, we're asking to renew the appointments already in place. I'm looking for the resolutions. It's my turn now. Mr. Cormier, just to make you feel better, I'm looking now. If you want to go ahead and read it, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council accepts the appointment of the elected members of the committees of Council and the external commissions, authorities, and committees as outlined in the enclosed list for a term ending May 9th, 2016. And I so move it. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Cormier, seconded by Councillor Leblanc on the question. No questions. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it's carried as presented. 10.6.2. This is a resolution to appoint a deputy mayor. Councillor Gaudette? Well, I might not have the exact formula in hand, but I would move that. No, just read the resolution. Pursuant to the procedural bylaw. Does somebody else have the text in front of them? Oh, we're patient. Pursuant to the procedural bylaw of the Municipal Council of the City of Dieppe, bylaw A-4, 2015, that council elects Councillor Ernest Thibodeau as Deputy Mayor for a term ending May 9th, 2016. And I so move it, Your Worship. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Godec, seconded by Councillor Brideau. All those in favor, or on the question? All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. So the appointment has been carried. Congratulations, Councillor Thibodeau, for having received the support from your colleagues. Or my sympathies, whichever. Depending. 10.6.3. It's a resolution that we agreed to add to the agenda. Councillor Brideau, please. Yes, thank you, Your Worship. That Councillor appoints Jacques Leblanc, Director of the Engineering Department, as a City of Dieppe staff representative on Expansion Dieppe's Board of Directors for a term ending on June 30th, 2016, and I so move it, Your Worship. It's been moved by Councillor Brideau, seconded by Councillor Béliveau on the question. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. It's carried as presented. And so, congratulations. I'm glad to see Mr. Leblanc return to the Expansion Dieppe board table. 10.7.1, it's a tender award for the supply and delivery of crushed stone and sand. Your Worship, we come back every year with all sorts of different supplies and bidders for the crushed stone and sand. This year, we're proposing a 3-year contract period to try and improve efficiencies. We have something here that is very interesting, I think. It's an increase of about 2% per year for different products. They vary, but it's an average of about 2%. It varies according to the project, the product. But you'll see all of the dimensions here, so instead of repeating them, saying them myself and repeating them, I'll just let the resolution be read. But the whole thing is for a 3-year period. Who has a voice left to read the resolution? Who has the wording in front of them? Mr. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. That Council awards the contract entitled Supply and Delivery of Crushed Stone and Sand from June 1st, 2015 to May 31st, 2018 to the following lowest bidders pursuant to the bids submitted by each company. That the 0 to 1.5 inch and 1/4 to 3/4 inch crushed stone and sand for ice control delivered to the Dieppe Operations Center, the 0 to 1.5 inch and 1/4 to 3/4 inch crushed stone and sand for ice control delivered to other locations be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Modern Construction 1983 Limited. That the 0 to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch, and 3 to 6 inch crushed stone delivered to the Dieppe Operations Center and the supply only of 0 to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch, and 3 to 6 inch crushed stone be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Greystone Quarries, Inc. That the supply only of 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch crushed stone be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Clearview Trucking and Excavation Limited. That the supply only of sand for ice control be purchased from the lowest bidder, being McDonald Paving and Construction Limited. That the supply only of 0 to 1.5 inch, 0 to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch, and 3 to 6 inch crushed stone be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Greystone Quarries, Inc., that the 0 to 1.5 inch, 1/4 to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch crushed stone and sand for ice control delivered to the Dieppe Operations Center, the 0 to 1.5 inch, 1 1/4 to 3/4 inch, and the 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch crushed stone and sand for ice control delivered to other locations, and the supply only of 0 to 1.5 inch, 1/4 inch to 3/4 inch, 3/4 inch to 1.5 inch crushed stone be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Modern Construction 1983 Limited. That the 0 to 3/4 inch and the 3 to 6 inch crushed stone delivered to the Dieppe Operations Center, the 0 to 3/4 inch, 3 to 6 inch crushed stone delivered to other locations, and the supply only of the 0 to 3/4 inch and 3 to 6 inch crushed stone be purchased from the lowest bidder, being Greystone Quarries, Inc., and that the supply only of sand for ice control be purchased from the lowest bidder, being McDonald Paving and Construction Limited. And I so move it, Your Worship. So it's moved by Councillor Thibodeau and seconded by Councillor Nolan on the question. Mr. Godet. I have a question on what I've already mentioned as being the dust level in these smallest sized crushed stone. Do we have a way of supervising, of controlling or monitoring the quantity of earth that is included, that is a part of this, especially for these smaller dimensions of crushed stone? Mr. Dubé, good evening.
Félicitations. Oui. Conseiller Godet.
Councillor Godet, could you speak a little louder, please? We can't hear you. We are starting to do random testing for our deliveries. Sometimes we'll take the first truckload that comes, sometimes it'll be the third truckload, and so we check the loads. We do the tests that are necessary to check the level of dust. Yes, but you know why I'm asking, right? No, not really. Because when we're trying to build a road or any type of surface, if you bring earth instead of rock, it's not as useful for the life expectancy of the road. Well, of course not. We have these standardized plans and charges, and even if we're at Public Works, we have to get the contracts have to be respected and complied with. Yes, and I have a memory that from certain contractors that the level of earth or of dust was higher than what is useful to you. So I'm hoping that you continue your testing and your inspections of the supplies. So you have a sampling procedure that you're going to be following? Yes. Does that answer your question? Yes. Yes, so the sampling does have to be consistent. Yes, it will be in the future. Yes, we're not going to go into the ISO standards of inspection, but yes, thank you. Any further questions? If not, all those in favor of this resolution will signify by saying aye. Contrary, nay. And it's carried as presented.
Number 11, bylaws, there are none tonight. 12, notice of motion, we don't have any. 13, inquiries, announcements by members of council, 4 minutes each. We'll start with Councillor Bidivo. I don't think I've started in this corner for a while. Thank you, Your Worship. The first thing, I have an observation that I made on Fox Creek Road. At the beginning of the trail that goes into Rotary Park, there's a fence that's broken. and it doesn't work. I think it's closed during the winter to discourage the four-wheelers, snowmobiles, etc. So it's broken now. That's my first point. Secondly, Your Worship, with Councillor Godet, on Saturday, I went to the graduation at the University of Moncton, and I saw that 63 people mentioned that Dieppe was their residence, and there was one diploma, PhD diploma given, and some have received prizes. So I want to congratulate all those people who are residents of Dieppe, and we hope that they will continue to pursue their education and contribute to the city. Yes, I would like to congratulate all those people who graduated from the University of Moncton who will contribute to the economy of our region. Councillor Thibodeau. Thank you, Your Worship. I have two things to mention. Last week, I went to the AGM of the Boys and Girls Club, and Councillor Godet was there as well, and the president of the board of directors officially congratulated Your Worship and the council for the collaboration they have with us. And I also went to the official opening of Pays du Sagouin. And I wanted to tell you that this year they will add a lot of new things, a new person that's called Gaspard, who's a former Councillor of Dieppe, Conrad Cormier. And the other big change is that the terrace, the deck will be open all day, starting for breakfast in the morning, and in the evening there will be music and jamming. That's all for this evening, Your Worship. Thank you. Of course, there'll be much more happening with all the concerts. For those who know the former councillor Conrad Cormier, you won't stop laughing with his new personality, Gaspard. Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to ask people that take Amiro and Acadie streets on the march to have patience, because that's what we have to live with. Thank you, and I'll encourage people to stay within the lines of the left and not to go across it, because it adds to the bottlenecks. So we should respect other drivers that are on the streets. Thank you, Councillor Cormier. Councillor Godet. For those that go across the line, if we did it in some other circumstances, we would lose a lot of pieces. But I had the privilege of going to the AGM of the organizational committee of the Congrès Acadien, and with the dissolution of the Congrès 2014 last week. And I am happy to have been able to congratulate them, and I'm happy to see that they have arrived to 0 in their numbers, so they have succeeded in their financing, and the amount that was discretionary at the end was given to the economic project in the 3 regions, to the 40 members for the territory and the forest. So we wish them all good luck with this project on regional economic cooperation, Quebec, New-Brunswick, and Maine. I also went to the graduation, and I want to congratulate all those from Dieppe who graduated as well at the AGM of Girls and Boys Club. It was wonderful to see the dynamics of the club. I want to thank Councillor Thibodeau to have mentioned it, and I also went to the meeting of the Chamber of Commerce. The celebration of distinguished women in service to the collectivity had a good evening, and Councillor Béliveau was there as well. And he went. He wanted to go to an excursion by plane with the minister, and I wish him good luck. I hope he has good towards the supper. Brigadier General from Halifax was invited to a supper. He gave a good presentation on the service and the duties of service. And Mathieu Martin, there's a prize won organized by the young Francophones of New-Brunswick, and I want to mention that the Journée Acadienne Grand Prix will take place in 18th and 19th of July, and the youth of Dieppe will be going there as well. I encourage you to take part in this expedition. I want to express my condolences to the family and friends of Georges Bastarache, who was a builder and contributor to the village and the city of Dieppe for a large number of years. And Mrs. Hawley, I want to express my sympathies. Thank you, Councillor Nolan. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to wish a good National Week to the paramedics here in Canada. So I want to thank those in New Brunswick and elsewhere who do excellent work each day. Thank you, Councillor Brideau. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to mention the fact that our button on Notre Dame and Gaulle has disappeared, so people will be able to drive with ease. But you must not forget that there is a stop sign there on the 4 corners. So that's it. I want to thank you. Thank you, Councillor Leblanc. Thank you, Your Worship. I want to make the first request this evening. I don't think there will be much impact with the temperature, but as I'm on the committee for the Santa Claus Parade, we're looking for a second judge for the team for the Santa Claus Parade. So if there's anybody that knows anyone who's a resident of Dieppe who would be interested to sit on this committee of judges for the Santa Claus Parade, please let me know. And I will make this request again when we get closer to Christmas. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Councillor Lina and everyone, for your collaboration this evening, your cooperation, and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.